Yeah, okay. Yeah, my name is Wade, and we're out here in Eastern Oregon. And anyway, we just have a three-bedroom, typical three-bedroom, two-bath house, and we're on a quarter acre, and we just put this garden in last year, so it's a relatively new back to Eden garden. In fact, it was the fall before that I put the chips in, and all I did is take the back side of the house here, the 10 feet in the back of the house. That's all my wife would give me, and it's 50 feet long, so it's a 10 by 50 area. And I put down my 4 layers of newspaper and brought in the chips. The city that I'm from, they chip, they do their own chipping stuff. They don't allow people to burn, so they allow everybody to bring over all their wood chips over to here, and over in this area over here, and they chip that all up in the spring. And so anyway, I'm totally blessed. I love the back to Eden method completely. And total fan of it, and obviously, and I've seen Paul's been up there several times, and so that was just really awesome. This right here, this area here was actually my garden area right here, and it was all on a slope. This was a slope here, and my neighbor was watering over there, and all his water was coming down into our yard, so I was watering my vegetables with his water, and he made a joke about the fact that, maybe he should be charging me for the water, and I said, well, not exactly, because I'm going to have to put in a French drain here if your water keeps coming down in here, because I've got too much water going underneath my house, and really it was puddling up down in here, particularly. And the sprinkler of his right on the corner, but right on this corner was a sprinkler that just would spray the fence, and all this water would come down. I said, I'm going to have to put in a French drain to resolve that. But I told him I'd build a retaining wall here, because his lawn was literally falling into so it was getting bad. And so anyway, I built this, told my wife I'd build her a retaining wall here, and then she fell in love with it so much that she took over. She took it over.
So this is all her doing, right?
So this is all her garden.
Nice.
So we put in, we got lots of roses and stuff. Now I don't know, they always do really well over here, the roses, but the roses on the other side of the house and in the front of the house took it pretty hard this cold winter we had. So they really took it really hard. So she took over the garden space. So now I didn't have a garden, anywhere to grow vegetables. And so then she finally gave me permission to take out the backside. So now I have my back to Eden garden. And so right now, right here, show you this. We'll just start with this plant. This plant here is I can pull the tag out of here. It's a low bush blueberry. And it's supposed to be that tall. It's not going to get much taller. It's also called a top hat. Something like that. They call them a top hat. But anyway, that's put that in her garden because it's only going to get so tall, and it has lovely fall colors, and plus it will cross-pollinate with the blueberry down on the end here. So we'll come down here. I'm not going to talk about a lot of these roses. A lot of them are knocks out. They do great. This is a white rose. That's a lavender rose. That's another knockout. Of course, these knockouts really do very well. But anyway, down here, you can see these are, I don't know, I hope they do well, but anyway, this I planted. It's a Chandler blueberry. And anyway, I hope it does well. I'm getting, obviously, I'll have fruit here, right? You can see back here, there's some. But anyway, I've been, you can see I have it mulched and everything, and trying to take care of it, and anyway, I hope that it'll eventually do really, really well. You know, it's going to get bigger too. And of course, all these tulips, you know, will all die off here soon. You can already see they're dying off, and so that'll all come out of there. And then it'll be big. It'll be big in the end.
Now, how much did you mulch? How deep did you go with this area here?
With the mulching, particularly, we brought in dirt. I got a pile of dirt that they dropped off up there, you know, and of course I wheelbarrowed all that in here, and as I built down and then closed it in. And then, and probably that dirt was from some farm that was deplete dirt, really, you know, and it was a lot of sand. It was a very sandy type of dirt. And so anyway, my wife did augment the soil quite a bit. And then I think the first year we probably, you know, we didn't have any chips in it. But all the garden plots, after I learned about back-to-Eden method and everything, you know, I took out a whole ton of rocks out of the front. I'll show you in a little bit what I did with those and where they went. They're very useful. And then, but in here, then we just kind of brought in buckets. You know, I have some tree buckets over there. We kind of, there's some chips over there right now in those tree buckets. So I bring in loads of tree buckets and I just dump them in there every once in a while and spread them out. So I don't think it's real thick in there. Well, actually, I did have it thick in there one year, and a lot of that's kind of broken down, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, but yeah, all the garden plots have really been improving because of just putting the chips on them, you know, and obviously the additional moisture in the soil and everything, and the worms working it, and so anyway, just really thrilled with. And her garden just is beautiful. A lot of people drive by and they comment about her garden, you know. This is all asparagus now. And this does, as you can see, it gets full sun pretty much the whole day. And so I put in a row of crowns, asparagus crowns in here. I started out at the 18 inches on the first 3, I think, and then the rest I did at a foot, because I just thought, you know, I don't think God spaces about 18 inches. You know, that doesn't make sense to me. The crowns may develop better, that way I don't know, being spaced out, you know, but I just thought, kind of seems like a waste of space to me. So I just went ahead and put them in at a foot here. I'm waiting for them, obviously, to come up, and then once they come up, then I can you know, I can move this soil back in, and then what I'll do is another row here, put in another row here, and move all that dirt over. Now this actually isn't a row. I haven't marked peppers, but I was going to put peppers in here, but I'm afraid that it's probably not going to get enough sunlight, because you can see how this is all in shade all the way up here, and here we are at you know, 10 o'clock, right? Oh, by the way, right below your feet here, let me just point this out. This is another blueberry I just put in here. Now, this blueberry could actually be planted in partial shade.
Really?
So by the time, you know, in the summertime, by noontime, you know, this ends up getting full sun, or, you know, by the time the sun goes down, you know, it's going to get 6 hours of sunshine, you know, and so anyway, I put that there so it can cross-pollinate with that one over there and the other one. This was a box elder. It was doing very, very well. This thing was big. It was like this big around, and I just thought, you know, I really want my garden to be an edible garden as much as possible. So as wonderful as it is to have a beautiful box elder, it was actually very healthy. I went ahead and took it out. You can see how I stripped the bark off of it, and I trust that it's going to, it'll all die. This is going to be romaine lettuce right here. And then you can see the carrots here now. I don't know if you can see, you've got a lot of carrots coming up all over the place. These are, these were the, these are the scarlet keepers, and they can actually be an inch apart. So, but I grew them on 2 inches apart, and you can see they're coming up all over the place. back here. I'll show you. I gotta watch where I step now because they're starting to come in. But so these are red Pontiac potatoes back here. Now I did what Paul told me to do. You know, I harvested my potatoes, and when I harvested my potatoes, you put my best potato back in the ground, you know, and covered them up. So yeah, there's a YouTube channel by Hollis and Nancy, and I forget the title of their YouTube channel. Some Hollis and Nancy homestead, something kind of urban homestead, I think it is. Anyway, this guy had built this tool for planting. And but his was a whole different, a lot different than mine. He actually had 1-inch dowels on the back, and the 1-inch dowels round, and he cut them at 1 inch. So he was planting all his seed at 1 inch. Well, that's way too much. And but anyway, he had designed this thing, and you can just and so I cut a 16 by 12, and just bought a nice handle for it. And then at the hardware store at Ace Hardware, I bought these spacers and copper screws. So these are half inch in diameter, 1/2 inch tall, with just brass screws there so that they don't rust. And I always clean this off after. And so now I'm doing my rows. I move my chips back, you know, about 12 inches, and then I can set this down on the ground. And I can either stand on it if I want to and just give it a little, you know, and then I get my, and then I get my 3x4 pattern. So 1, 2, 3, and then by 4, 3x4. I get 12, up to 12 plants. And then, like I did with the carrots, as you saw those carrots that were so close together, I just came in here and I just poked holes and I went boom, 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 boom. So now I have a 5x7 pattern. So I got 35 carrots. You know, I do one stomp, and I get 35 carrots.
And good spacing on it too. That's nice.
So great spacing. If I want to do 8s, I can just do these. These are 8s. So I can do 8s and then 8, you know, so I can just plant here. And that's what I did on that romaine. You'll see that they're all spaced at 8. And that's what I did. I planted there, planted there, planted it there, and then just came down and kept stomping down my row. And so you can do 2s, you can do 4s. This is about 5.5 inches. So if I had a pattern that needed to be at 6 inches, I could actually do diagonal and just have kind of a cool little zigzag going down my garden. The other thing I thought of, but I haven't done it yet, is some kind of what they call companion planting, right? So I haven't done any of that yet, but I'd like to get into doing that if that'll help keep the bugs away and stuff, you know, things that I don't want. So anyway, that's just a really neat tool. I really love it. You'll see in there I did, and I'll show them to you. We'll open up these hoops. I did radishes and just a beautiful row of radishes, and we can taste some of that. It's ready to taste. This winter I actually grew plants and germinated plants. I looked it up online, and you can literally germinate seed, you know, down to 32 degrees. So yeah, I got them germinated all right, but the spinach stayed about that tall the whole winter. So then the spinach you're going to see in there that's edible, and then we're going to try some of it. That spinach, it finally matured, and it wasn't really dwarfed like some of the other. You'll see also I have some pretty spindly looking or very narrow stalked kale in there. And that's because it was grown in the winter and it just never matured. And so then when it did grow in the spring and took off, they're kind of tall and lanky. And so I don't think they're, so when my other kale comes up and matures, then I'll probably take those out and replant them so that I get a nice healthy plant, a healthier plant anyway, you know.
Right.
And so, so we'll go around then here. I'll show you, we'll look at the sweet peas next. These are just the mammoth milk sugar snow peas. We bought a lot of seed. We bought a lot of seed from Baker Creek. You know, big barrel of seed. You know, 375 varieties or whatever it was.
Oh,
I
really?
can't remember. You know, well, that was 10 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so some of the seed is still producing well and seems to be doing fine, but some of the stuff is not. You know, the beets have done well. You know, some of the bigger seeds seem to germinate real well. I planted quite a bit of lettuce, and we'll see that. The lettuce really hasn't done very well, and so I think I just need to go down and buy some new seed.
Yeah.
You know, upgrade my seed. So out of about 9 plants here, you can see here on these, I just got 4. Then these here are just the Oregon sugar pod peas, and of course I got all 3 came up there, and of course there was 2, 4, 6 seeds I planted, and only, you know, I got 3 exactly, and I got 2 here and 2 here, and I was going to put another one in here, and I probably will do that, just kind of you know, saving that one started a little bit later. Check this out here. See, look at all this. Here, have some spinach. You like spinach?
Sure.
Yeah, help yourself. Look at this here. I was just blown away by this. You see this weed right here?
Right.
Okay, that's normally when, you know, you pick them and you get them out of there, right? Look at this. I didn't notice this one. And look at this leaf. It's over 8 inches long.
Wow.
I just wanted to show you back to eating healthy weed, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, when I first saw it, I thought, God, I wonder if that thing's edible, you know.
Is it?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so. Now you can see this is starting to go to seed. And you can see, I don't know whether I drank too much kombucha or what, but my row is all crooked. I don't know. When I got in here in the spring and I looked at how crooked that row was, I was like, holy cow, what was I doing? Now you see this? This was this Bloomingdale, that label says Bloomingdale spinach. And there was a few of them in here, but I think the bugs ate them. But I think that they really got kind of wiped out from that wind.
Right.
And also that seed is over a year old, so what I'm thinking is that seed, I need to, you know, that spinach down there was all newer seed, and of course it's doing really, really well. So what I'll do is probably just plant that the gigantic infernal spinach, a new row here. Let me show you that tool. I want to show you that tool. Hold on just a minute. Give you an example of how wonderful this tool is. So, you know, if I was going to plant this row, of course, get the weed out of there. And then, you can see, I don't know if that's a weed or what. But anyway, you know, I'd break up all this soil, move my chips back. And, of course, you know how Paul is now. You can practically plant. Now you can step on this or whatever you want to do. A lot of times I just hit it with my hand real hard and that's all it takes.
Right.
And then I just, and then I pick that up. You see, that wasn't a very good example, but anyway.
You see all the little holes in there though?
Normally I claw everything and get it all real smooth, you know.
Right.
And then you get this absolutely wonderful pattern. God, I don't know why that didn't, it's just dry or whatever, you know, I don't know. But anyway, of course you don't want to compact your soil either. But
there
anyway, and then you just slip your seeds in there. And then I just brush it over like that.
Yeah.
And so they probably end up about, you know, quarter-inch deep, you know. Now you can see what I did here. And you're going to see these potatoes around. You see these potatoes? These are my, that's a trap for the potato bugs, which
What?
I've had so much problem. Now, right now, there's nothing. Look at all these worms here, though. There's a bunch of little tiny worms in there. They also like to hide under here. But I did harvest bugs just the other day. I came in here and I just knocked them all off, all the potato bugs, into a bucket, and then I threw them over the fence to the chickens, and the roosters loved them. So they had a good time with that. you can see I planted a row of carrots here. Some of them did well, but that storm kind of wiped them out.
Right.
And so whether they blew the seed off, maybe they blew the seed off, and so these are the ones that were near where I had a pile of chips on this side. They remained. So you can kind of see, and I have to thin them out, obviously. They need to be thinned out. But anyway, this is another row I'd probably just replant, you know. This here next is this Scottish kale, curled, it's Vate's dwarf blue curled Scotch kale. And of course I got to come in here and thin these out now. And there's another one of those weeds doing very well, very healthy. So I need to thin these out because they're not going to do well if I let them all continue the way they are, right? So, and then back here, this is Tuscan kale that I just put in, and this is doing very well. If you'd like to try some of that, here. Try some of that here. I haven't even tried any of this. Now there's some bug damage, I don't know.
Really good.
So anyway, these are the, this here is the kale that I was telling you about that I grew in the middle of the winter. Now I can see some kind of, there is a bug on there, but you can see how spindly they are.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're, you know, real healthy. They just grew at such a low pace. It's one of the things that I learned from trying to grow something in the wintertime is it just grows too slow, and then it ends up being kind of dwarfed, and it just never does as well as it ought to. But anyway, we're harvesting kale, and when these things all become, this row becomes mature, then I'll go ahead and take these 3 or 4 out and just replant, you know. And so there's that that hoop. And so this September, this is what I want to do, now that you brought that up, is I really do want to, I want to plant all of these. Like I'll just harvest everything in here and then all replant all of them. So this will be our winter garden. And we'll, you know, everything from lettuce to all kinds of things, spinach especially, kale, and then all the turnips, all the root vegetables, turnips, carrots, beets, and I could even do radishes, you know, if I wanted to, but you know, they may not last all winter. You know, they're going to come up, they're going to mature, you're going to eat them. See, what I did here is I allow air to come into here. Now, you know, in the wintertime, obviously this brick would have been on the plastic, but anyway, I've just been letting some air come in, and then, so I always got to take these off, and then, now when those 60-mile-an-hour winds were coming from the south, you know, this hoop, because of the stone wall, was fine, and it didn't get picked up, and it didn't get thrown all around, and although there was some damage to the plants, and I'll show you that in a minute, but this one stayed in place. Plus I had more of these metal clips. When these things blew up, I mean, these little green clips I had, you know, they exploded. You never know where you were going to find them, you know. Just amazing. Of course, now, so all these potatoes, these are all russets. Tip that. Now these, we'll start down here. I planted a row of turnips in here, had some turnips growing here, but when that windstorm came, it literally, you know, you can see how this is all dipped down. Well, at that time it was all nice and smooth, it was all flat. It literally cleared, that wind just came in here, whipped in here, and just cleaned out all my seeds and everything, you know. And I had a few of them growing kind of on this edge here. You can see, that's what's left of my turnips right here, you know, here, and here's a couple here. So obviously I'm going to have to replant this row. Now you can see how here, these are radishes, and these were planted every 2 inch, and they're doing very, very well. And let's just check this potato trap here. Oh, look at that. See, look at, oh, look at, they've been busy. Look at, they put a hole in my potato.
Wow.
See, and then you just gather those up, throw those over the fence, and oh, the roosters love those. They're very delicious. Okay, let's try a turnip, radish here, rather. You like radishes?
Not really the biggest fan, but I'll always have some.
Okay, there we go. Look at this. See, they're ready to harvest. They're ready to harvest now, and they're pretty, huh?
Yeah, they're very nice and red.
And
They're really good.
wow, crunchy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see here. So this was 105. So this is 5. This is 5 by 7, 5 by 7, 35. 35, 35, 35. It's 105 anyway, total radishes, you know, so that's really cool. My wife goes, "You're growing 105 radishes, what for, you know?" I said, "Hey, you know, we'll eat them,
Yeah.
you know." Now, you can see here, see, this is Gentilina lettuce. Well, it's not doing it all, it didn't even come up. Now, that seed's 10 years old, and so apparently that's bad. You can see here, I got another, these Chantenay, we really like these red cord Chantenay carrots. And you can see that I just thinned these. So I thinned these all down to 1. And you can see my little pattern.
Yeah.
You know, just a neat pattern. Great for planting. And then, like we talked about, we got to move these chips in here, you know.
Yep.
Get these chips moved back in so that because they are dry now. You can see the soil's dry.
Yep.
And see, so I got to get in here and water today. And then you can see here now, these are my new beets. I put in all these, and I did thin these out, so you can see they're all thinned. And so I just love that tool. It's just really, really wonderful. Now I did check these. Of course, these are all, as we can see, they're all going to seed. Now I was harvesting the tops because we do a lot of juicing. And so I was harvesting the tops just on a consistent basis. And I don't know if I just dwarfed the actual beets because I checked the other day and they're not growing. They're not growing. So, but you can see, obviously, I told my wife, I said, "Hey, we got to start, we got more than enough greens here,
right,
in order to juice, you know." And of course, beet greens they're pretty strong in a juice, so you know you don't necessarily like to have a lot of it, you know. But you know, 3 or 4 leaves is enough for a juice, you know. But anyway, yeah, they're all doing very well. And these, I'm not going to harvest the greens until I think they're getting close to being mature, because otherwise I don't want to again make the same mistake,
right,
you know. But anyway, but these greens are wonderful. We eat them all the time, and of course they're going to seed, and so now eventually I'm going to have to take off this the plastic. But you know, as you and I have been discussing, you know, it gets so windy, it gets terribly windy that you know, you got to protect them from the wind. And the other thing too, and I don't know how much you know about this, but you know, I had leaf miners last year, just horrible problem with leaf miners on my on these the beet leaves. And then on the kale, I had the problem with the cabbage loopers, and they were just horrible, you know. And so I'm trying to figure out how to companion plant, or I did buy some material at Joann's Fabrics that I could put over them and drape over them to keep the caterpillars from landing on them, and you know, and having planting their little eggs and stuff,
right,
you know. So anyway, that's the hoops. This is the hoops. And so I've got work to do in here. Obviously you can see I want to plant another row of turnips over there. I'll replant this lettuce. You know, these are all doing fine. I'm disappointed here. I don't know what happened, but it was probably the wind that blew the seeds off. So I only got 3 carrots out of that, even though I replanted it. So unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. I really like this one guy's, I forget his, I think his name was Justin Rhodes. And he's got a YouTube site. And one day he had this, the title of it was Just Plant, you know, just plant. You know, he says, you don't know, this guy planted 1,000 trees and, you know, or no, he planted 10,000 trees and only 1,000 came up and then only 1,000 survived. He says, you don't know what's going to survive, just plant. It was just like God was just telling me, just plant, just keep planting. And you know, if I plant enough food, then, you know, even if the roly-polies come in and have a good time, you know, they're not going to get it all. Like Paul said, you know, hey, I don't worry about them, you know, okay. My wife gave me permission to take this area right here, all this grass out, and expand the garden around.
Oh, really?
So I'm very, very happy about that. And so what I'm going to do is, I think I'll do butcher paper this time, and bring in the chips. And I think I'm going to order. I think I'm going to call some people around, like your YouTube suggested, and get some fresh chips. And have someone dump 1 load for me. I don't want a bunch of loads, just 1 load.
You don't want 25 like I have?
I don't want 25 like you have, yeah. So yeah, I'll put down the butcher paper. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about the rocks. So in the front of the yard we had all these rocks, and I didn't like mowing around rocks, you know. I don't want to be mowing around rocks. You know, it's kind of scary when you do that. You always think you're going to throw a rock into the window or something, you know. So what I did here, in the yard here, you don't have to look over there if you don't want to, but you can see what we have over here. We've got a weed patch and a lot of dandelions, and they have that, I think it's bluegrass, not bluegrass, but it's that kind of invasive grass. I forget, it's not bluegrass, it's not ryegrass. Anyway, it's just a very invasive grass, and people don't like it because it doesn't stay, you know, it doesn't stay in one area. It just constantly is expanding. So what I did here is I came out 1 foot and I dug down a big ditch over 1 foot deep all the way down here. Then I took pool liner. You can see this pool liner. I bought pool liner on Amazon. And I put pool liner up there, a lip of pool liner, and then it comes out 1 foot, and then it drops down into 1 foot. And then I built my wall, and then I brought in all this rock that was in the front yard, and I made those all back to Eden plots, and brought the rock back here. So we were just bringing buckets back and dumping them in. And so, you know, and that's probably, you know, 3 to 4 inches deep all the way down. And so, you know, when this grass gets invasive, you know, I just come through here and just tear it. And so it hasn't been growing into my garden, thank God. You know, my wife goes, oh, it's going to be a weed patch, it's going to be a weed patch. I go, honey, back to Eden gardens aren't weed patches, okay? They're not weed patches, don't worry about it. I says, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's what this is about. And so because this liner's down here, you know, it killed everything. And so we haven't had a problem. They don't want to grow into a dark area of soil that has no worms, no nothing, no nutrient, you know, no light, no, you know. And so anyway, it's worked very well as a barrier. This over here, we had a lot of strawberries here, and I'll show you where my wife, she's been harvesting them out of there and putting them into pots. So a lot of them are up on the patio right now. They didn't do well here anyway. Strawberries weren't doing well there. Now you can see right in here, this is probably not going to work out real well. I'm not sure. I grew a spring mix in here, a lettuce, last year, and we went ahead and did it again this year. You can see they're kind of spindly. The plants are pretty spindly, pretty thin, and they all came up. That's really nice, you know. It's arugula. This is arugula. See, that's arugula. And anyway, so those are doing quite well. I hope, but you can see that they don't get much sun. And even if the sun was shining right now, my lilacs are just taking them over, you know, pretty much taking over. So, but anyway, there's a whole tub of arugula, and I hope it matures, and that's going to be good. We put in this maple tree here. You can see this maple tree is doing well. We put that in, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago. And anyway, it's doing very well. It's going to get big, so obviously a lot of this area back here
Be shaded.
going to be shaded, partial shade, because once the sun comes around, of course, obviously it'll get afternoon sun. Then the fence will shade it. So it's not going to get a lot, so it might be a good place to grow lettuce and things like that that don't require a lot of sunshine. Here's another, just a garden plot for my wife, and anyway, it's doing pretty well. We put some chips down, as you can see, and it's definitely doing a lot better. This plot here, now normally, you can see I got this all plumbed. Got quite a bit of plumbing in here, and here I left in the roots. There you go. Anyway, this had 3 tomato plants, and then it had pepper plants all the way around, and those are 3 big, the gigantic tulips. I guess they're tulips, or not tulips. What are they? Are they tulips? I think they're tulips. They're very big, very large tulips. You know, big flowers. You know, I don't know if you've seen those big, gigantic tulips. Anyway, it was a bad place to put them, really, but they're there. So I'm thinking about putting my tomatoes over here and just have that all peppers, because I think I could fill that. I have a lot of peppers, and I'll be showing you. We'll look at that again, perhaps in the house. But so anyway, that's kind of the plan. And then here, just like you have done, I put in a 4-way. This is a 4-way combination. You know, a 4-way combination apple tree.
Apple, yeah.
And gosh, we got a lot of apples last year. Really had to take some off, and
This is one of those ones from Costco?
Not from Costco,
okay.
but it could have been. We looked at that. In fact, we looked the other day, and they were just like, man, they didn't have very many available. It was
they go pretty quick.
The ones that were there were sad.
Yeah.
That were left. No,
How old is, you planted this
nursery.
one last year?
Huh?
You planted this one last year?
Yeah, planted this last year, dug this all out, you know, used the big hose, a 6-inch circle, and dug it all out and planted the pavers, and really happy the way this turned out. And then dug a big hole and augmented it, and put it in, and then of course just put a lot of chips. I've dumped chips. I can't even believe that this is this flat. You know how it is. You know, you pile up chips around it, and they all. And you can see just how, you know, we can look at how moist this is. You know, the soil is just look at that. You don't even have to go down that far. You know, and you got moisture. Of course, it has been raining, right? But there's a lot of, it's just very moist soil. And, you know, look at that, there's a centipede right there.
And you have those wood chips right up to the trunk, too.
Yeah. And that trunk's getting bigger. It wasn't that big last year, you know. You can see this is a honey crisp. It's got Jonah Gold, Chehalis, and a cane. So this here, this is a cane right there. This is all I have of a cane right there. And then the honey crisp has got this branch and this branch and this branch, so that's pretty good. And then these are the Jonah Golds got here. and they did very well. And anyway, I've been watching Paul's pruning videos and things like that, and so really have appreciated that knowledge and learning from him. And so anyway, that's the way I pruned it. I kind of went with the, you can kind of see here how this splits off here.
Right.
I think this is probably maybe the original branch, and this was grafted in. But because the graft was stronger and thicker, I made that the key. I made that the key.
The leader.
The leader, thank you, yes. So anyway, it's doing well, and like I said, last year we harvested some beautiful apples. It was really just, they were just full of apples. And just the Jonah Golds particularly did very, very well. Only got a couple Honey Crisp and things like that, but anyway, just really the bees.
But it's still a young tree.
Yeah, it's still a young tree.
And it wasn't like put into Paul's orchard. It was put, somewhere where he just started off. So
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, all these plots are improving. It's just amazing with the back-to-eat meadow. You see under there, I got all, it doesn't matter whether I have a tree or whatever I have. I've got chips under them now, and I really, I'm real happy with the results. So, and let's go on up here. You can see here, these are the raspberries. These do very well. Last year we had raspberries that just did absolutely phenomenal, and really a wonderful harvest. And then the neat thing is that I was eating raspberries, clusters of raspberries in November and December. And it was just funny how those were doing that. And it's because I had put a bunch of back-to-eating chips down, and so the soil, I guess, had kind of picked up some warmth. Maybe they thought it was springtime, I don't know, or the Lord just wanted to bless us with some raspberries. But I harvested those and gave those to my wife, and she put them in her yogurt. She loved them. She loved them. She really loved them. You can see these are starting to bloom here. They're just getting ready to bloom. I think that's what these are here, about to flower. And they're doing really well. You can see the steer manure. We kind of just throw some steer manure on them, although, look at all my chips have broken down. I have thrown in whole handfuls of chips, and they're all gone, And so they do break down. Look at how vibrant this is. Did you see that? Now what I do is I go over, I had, over here at the place, the refuge place, they got a ton of dirt over there that's just pure organic matter. I couldn't grow in it. Water wouldn't even seep through it. It was, and I looked online, and everybody had 1,000 guesses of what the problem was, but you could tell that they never had the problem.
Right.
They really didn't. And so, but one person had it right. They said that's pure organic matter. It's not soil. You think it's soil, it's not soil. It has to be mixed with soil. Otherwise, it's just pure organic matter. Well, that's awesome, it's rich in nitrogen. This one year, several years ago, and that's why this is so vibrant, stuffed that stuff underneath all the way around it. I lifted up everything and stuffed it in there. And these are daylilies. They're supposed to last one day. I didn't know that, but I read about it. They're supposed to last one day. These things lasted all summer, and they were just happy as a lark, and they were gorgeous. And I got this lovely picture on my wall. I can show you that. And I went and got it put on canvas, for cheap, at Costco. And so, but look at how vibrant that is. It's happy, and I trust this is going to be a really good year for this plant. And if I need to, I can throw some more of that organic matter in there, but it looks like it doesn't need it. This is really amazing. And I was going to say too that plant wasn't doing well, but when I put that organic matter under it and watered it in, 3 days later, man, it is looking like happier than St. Patty's Day. I mean, it's green. It's like, something from heaven. I mean, it's got emerald green leaves. They're emerald. It's like diamond, emeralds, It was amazing, the transformation. I had the same thing with a tomato plant. over on around here wasn't doing well. It was all yellowed. It wasn't doing well. I was obviously unhappy. I put that organic matter around it, watered it in real good, and within 2 days it looked just absolutely gorgeous. Then the thing grew all the way up to here, and it's big, and it had all these flowers everywhere, but no fruit. And I said, Father, what's going on here? You know, this needs something, no fruit.
Right.
You know, beautiful, it's a beautiful plant. You know? And Lord, I just heard fertilizer. So I just went down to Home Depot and bought some organic fertilizer, you know, and just spread a little of that and watered it in, and boom, this thing just took off and did real well. You know, we ended up with a lot of watery. See, I was overwatering, so we ended up with really slushy tomatoes. But we froze all those tomatoes, they were big beefsteak tomatoes. We froze them, and then we take them out. My wife thaws them out, puts them in a pot, cooks them up, pulls all the skins out of there, and makes spaghetti sauce and stuff like that with them. Oh my gosh, the flavor is awesome. It's just awesome. And so it's so worth it, you know. And this year we're doing Roma tomatoes and Tammy G's. You can see them in the window there. I got 3 Roma tomatoes that I raised, and so we're going to try to do Romas this year. We like to make salsa and stuff like that. So anyway, we're looking forward to that. Well, you can see these are doing very well, and these I want to put pavers around this, and we had starts out here in the lawn. You can see this whole area where I trimmed it down with the trimmer real short.
Right.
That's because they had all these starts. The birds, we feed the birds. You can see the bird hangers there and the bird feeder there. And so I trimmed all that, tried to cut down all those starts, their leaves, so that they wouldn't continue to develop and get established. But normally you would see this and I would have just a ton of chips around it. And so I need to do that, get some chips around it. And they all break down. I mean, you know, this all had chips in the wintertime.
Oh, really?
All around it. They all broke down and gone. And so, well, maybe that was 2 years ago. Honestly, that's not correct. But they already had chips on it. And then, but they all broke down. And so anyway, we need to... and I went around and pulled all these weeds all the way around it, and I just leave the weeds on the ground so that nutrition just goes back into the soil. So now you can see my wife brought in some of the strawberries, that were from the back, and I think they're gonna, I don't know, they're in shade, you know, they're gonna get just a little bit, and of course you saw the arugula from the other end, and she just put these in. She bought these from Costco, and we just love those geraniums. I think those are geraniums, right? I think they are. And anyway, those that just fill the whole thing and be very beautiful. More strawberries here. Now I'll never plant in earth boxes again, okay? Because you know, I mean, I'm back to eating. I want to do things God's way, you know.
Right.
And I haven't had really, and it's my fault. I'm sure there's a way to successfully plant in these, but it's just not God's ideal way to plant, obviously. But my wife went ahead and she said, well, can I use them for that, for strawberries? I said, well, yeah, sure, no problem, you know. But the only problem is, you see, it's been rainy, right? So if I tip that over.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm shocked.
Probably dried out by now.
No, you know what? It probably, well, you know, it rains around here, but then, you know, I looked in a bucket after it had rained the other day, and I go, there ain't no water in this bucket.
Right.
You know, what is this, an 1/8 inch water in here? You know, this isn't going to do anything to plants, you know. So, and I told my wife, I says, you're gonna water these, right? Okay, she goes, let me water them. I said, okay, I'm gonna let you water them. I'm gonna leave them alone because I haven't done well with strawberries. I don't know.
Oh, really?
And they're easy to grow, you know. So now you can see my roses. You know, I kind of topped them probably a little too early, and then a lot of them died. So I had to wait for growth to come up on these roses so that I could see where in the world what was alive and what wasn't. So I'll come in and trim all that dead matter out of there. Same thing with those. Same thing with this third one. That's a Survivor rose, and that was kind of associated with 9/11. And it's a beautiful pink rose, bush rose. It gets pretty big. And this is a beautiful hybrid. Anyway, it's a tea rose, a dark red tea rose, very beautiful. And then those are beautiful orange roses there. And the only one that's growing, you can see the plant that's growing is outside my outside my little fence. That's not good, but anyway. Eventually these will be moved. Once these are gone, we'll move these over and move them onto the soil there probably. Or we could leave them there, it doesn't matter. But anyway, they're going to get full sun here. They seem to want to, they're producing some strawberries, so that's pretty cool. So these I just planted these. You know, they were in cups that had 2 in each cup, you know, and then I had to clip one of them. They were all doing very well, and so I clipped one of them and put them in these bigger cups. I've got you got orange bell, and there's a couple orange bells. This is a bullnose. That's a bullnose sweet pepper, and there's several of those, and then. This is a golden California Wonder, which is that's a golden colored sweet pepper, you know. And there's several of those. So so of course the orange bell obviously will be orange. The bullnose will be they're either green or they're green. They're basically green peppers, but I don't know why they had a picture of a red one. So I don't know what the deal was on that, you know. But anyway, so those are doing very well, and then this, I wanted to get this outside, but I'm afraid the wind was too much. I do have a little greenhouse I could set up out there, but I want to harden this off and get it in the ground now, because it's root bound. And but anyway, this is a Totino Roma tomato. We decided to grow our own Roma tomato plants because. Well, I didn't even know they had them. I was just down there at home, and I go, oh, they got Roma tomatoes everywhere, you know. But anyway, it's fun to grow. But, you know, obviously the plant, you know, either I've been overwatering or I've got a heat lamp in the other room at night. I keep them on a heat lamp, and I just started doing that. And the small glow light that I have, 2-footer, you know, well, obviously this is getting this big, and the other things are small, and so, you know, you kind of... doing a slinky thing, you know, try to get them all within 2 inches of that light, because it's just one T5. It doesn't put out a whole lot of anything, you know. So anyway, these haven't done, you know, they're having a little bit of problem. If I get them in the ground, maybe nature could take over before I screw up, you know. Yeah, the plants, I agree, should be able to do that. These are also, these two here, this one and this one, those are also Martino Romas, and they're doing very well. Now why that other one took off before these two, I don't know. But they're all doing well. And then of course, like I said, I just bought this Tammy G. That's a Tammy G grape tomato. Basically a grape tomato I just bought yesterday. I should have bought 2 of them. And I may do that. Maybe I'll just put these over here and get some sun. So anyway, that's the garden. That's what's going on here. And
this is your canvas that.
Oh yeah, this is that beautiful plant right in the front of the house that I showed you. And yeah, I just had that. You know, $28.